This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Jeremy has an assortment of loops that need to be closed on things we've been talking about. At the end of the hour, as part of our 20-year celebration, we're going to have a Behind the Bit. This one is going to be just doing sports trivia with my brother, Lebo. He was usually pretty terrible at it. I don't know that we will have a better moment involving him than the time that we asked him, the most famous shortstop of the New York Yankees, and he said, I know this, Eric Jeter. I don't know that we will do a whole lot better than that.
I used to like the mind benders.
He would do mind benders. Would you rather would be another way of playing that game. Have any of you seen yet Friendship with Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson? Because it's great. It's funny. It's awkward. It's got 4 or 5 just quintessentially funny moments, including a spoiler alert with Paul Rudd that may in some ways remind you of Zaslow. I will tell you nothing else except this is the most that Paul Rudd in a movie has ever been like Zaslow. It is funny, though. It is awkward funny. I love the role for Paul Rudd, and I would recommend the movie to anyone who likes the skit show, I Think You Should Leave, which I've told you before. My brother's widow, in a crowded place, I was recommending to her, I Think You Should Leave, and she kept getting hurt because she thought I was telling her to go. She didn't know. She was loud, and she didn't understand.
Who's on first situation?
Yeah, she didn't really understand. And
Like she just thought mid-conversation, you're telling her, I think you should leave?
I kept saying it louder because she couldn't hear me. I think you should leave. And so, yeah, she was a bit insulted by that. But I would recommend Friendship to anyone listening to this. But Tony mentioned something before we close those loops and before we get to Behind the Bit. Tony mentioned something during the break. He was ruminating about the worst things to step on. And I didn't hear any of his nominees, but the way that my mind works on word association, that's almost the first thing I think of when I think of Legos. Like, if you ask me to do word association on Legos, I'm going to end up in a video algorithm mentally of people stepping on Legos. I've seen videos of people running on a treadmill that's covered in Legos.
So you call it Lego, huh? That's how you say it, Lego?
Am I saying it incorrectly?
I think it's Lego, right?
Legos.
It's a Lego.
Lego my ego.
That's a different thing.
But it's pronounced the same.
Yeah.
So you guys, I'm saying it wrong. Lego.
Now you put an accent on the O.
Lego.
That's
Lego.
maybe the French.
It sounds
version.
like Jeremy's "Let's go, Lego."
So Dan, here's the thing. Obviously, you have your natural comedic things that you step on that are bad. A rake, banana peel, of those things. I was in my house a couple of days ago on Saturday.
You stepped on your child.
That would also be a bad thing to step on. But no, I did not step on her. So I was getting ready. Hoops on Saturday mornings. I wake up pretty early. I'm in the gym playing hoops by about 7:30, right? So it's kind of dark at the house. I wake up around 6:30, 6:45. I'm getting my stuff ready. I go out to the other bathroom that's across from where our room is. I had left something in there. I was getting ready. I take a step out of the bathroom. Still dark. I take a step out of the bathroom and hear, I'm like, what? I'm like, what was that? Barefoot, obviously. Just got out of bed. I look under what I stepped on. Somehow, some way, a cockroach was walking in the same way that I was turning the corner from the bathroom, and he was underneath, or her,
Or
whomever,
she, yeah.
whatever, was underneath my foot as
The sound effect was perfect.
It was.
that you made too.
I was like, what? It sounded almost like Billy's Onion Crunch. Like, that's what the sound was. And I felt like the juice of its guts. And I was like, what did I step on? I have no, like, at this point, I'm not thinking I stepped on a cockroach. I think I stepped on like a, I don't know, something for the baby, something like a diaper, like something that was weird. I looked down, dead cockroach on my, just like that. And I was just like, ugh. But the problem is I had to hop over because it was dark.
Yeah.
I had to hop over to where the light was to turn it on. Obviously, as you can see, my disgust, guts all over my foot. It was on a rug, so I had to sit there and clean it off the rug. It was terrible. So I submit that as the worst thing to step on. A live cockroach on my foot. Poor person, or cockroach, whatever, male or female, whatever it was, that was walking and decided to walk directly into my path.
Let's go!
This story fell apart with the details. Once you threw in the rug, it wouldn't have made that sound.
What do you don't think that stepping on a cockroach on a rug?
No, the rug's
make
a
that
silencer.
sound?
No, if you had like the tile or the wooden floor, I believe the sound.
Billy
I'm
gets
starting to wonder now.
Okay.
Once a rug was involved, if this is real.
I want to bring a cockroach in here. You be barefoot. You step on it and see what sound
On
it
a
makes.
rug.
On a rug, it would be
On a
quiet.
rug. I'm telling
Wouldn't hear
you,
it.
the crunch is going to be the same.
Bug on a rug.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for lying.
It was filed by Billy on a Wild Willie Wednesday.
I don't give a shit what he says.
Okay,
You
but-
think I'll kick his ass too?
The penalty has been
Fight
called.
fighting people.
You
You
have
keep
to
threatening to
leave,
fight people.
and then
Becoming a
don't
norm
fight
around
them.
here.
Then go to Vegas and don't fight them. Go. You got to go.
Wow.
Billy has made an accusation, and on Wild
Well,
Willie
Hold on,
Wednesday-
Judge Zaslow.
Judge Johnny.
Because is this America or is this not America, Jack?
It's not. Hold on.
I mean, is that what I'm judging? If this is America?
No,
Well-
you're judging on what the guilty or not guilty
The
verdict
ruling
is.
has been made. We're not going to a judge. You've got to go.
Yeah, we don't use judges anymore.
It's gone. You have to go. And I'm sorry. It's Billy levying the accusation.
He's not the judge.
It's a Wild Willie Wednesday, and on Wild Willie Wednesday, he is the judge on this. And you have to go. You may not have been lying. The story is worse if it's on tile. I think all of us say that's worse to be stepping on a cockroach on tile than on a rug. And he has put enough skepticism around your story that I'm going to allow it.
It's actually preferred to step on tile. It's louder, to your point,
Yeah.
on tile. It's an easier cleanup on tile. You don't want it in the carpet.
Rug
then it gets-
cleanup's very
You
difficult.
gotta like the guts are getting in
Yeah,
the carpet.
and if it was pregnant and there's babies in there, ooh,
Whoa,
no.
that's dark.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have assumed that he could have killed it barefoot on a rug, given how difficult it is to just generally kill cockroaches. And also, I don't know if you guys know this. I didn't learn it until recently because I'm seeing a lot more cockroaches than I usually do. The heat brings them out, and I was not aware that the heat makes cockroaches be something that are going to be more on your radar than they usually are. And obviously, we're so swampy down here that the flying cockroach is simply not something that's everywhere in the United States. Correct?
No, the palmetto bug? I don't think so. It's my worst nightmare. Like what Tony just described.
That can't be true.
It is.
That's your
an
worst
actual nightmare. Well, okay.
It's
I live a charmed life.
It's unpleasant. A barefoot stepping on a cockroach is pretty unpleasant.
He definitely did it with the ball of his foot too, which is how you end up getting that crunch. And I think no, if you do right, it's not going to happen if the arch is there. And
I'm flat-footed. It can happen to me.
it's the
Really?
heel.
Yeah.
But my assumption is this is just a thin rug that he's talking about. I feel like we're all reacting to this like it's like shag carpeting, and that's not what's there. If you have a thin little rug that's there just for decoration, this can absolutely happen. I think we really did Tony a disservice.
I was waiting for a judgment, to be honest with you.
Wasn't necessary.
Zaz, you look flat-footed.
You do.
I feel like I could profile you as a flat-footed person.
I am.
I'm going to tell the rest of you a funny story that you will both.
You think that's something you could tell when you see somebody? Dude's flat-footed.
Yes, with you. Just
When you
On-
said it, I was like, checks out.
Is
I
it
wear
on
orthotics,
site
too.
or because you know him that you think that he's flat-footed?
I believe it's something about his face right now that makes
Really?
it feel
His
to
face.
me like he is flat-footed. But Tony mentioned In the Dark, and I will tell you guys a funny story that you will not be surprised by, but you will indeed find amusing. In the dark the other day, I'm going through my closet in total dark at 5:30 in the morning, trying not to wake up my wife. And I go and I get dressed and I do a full workout in the dark at 5:30 in the morning. And later in the morning, as I'm at the grocery store, I look down and realize I'm wearing two different sneakers. Because I grabbed them in the dark, and they were both. They both seemed like they were they were different shoes for different feet, but they seemed to be the same shade of color. One of them was white though, and one of them was like a light beige, and so I'm wearing two different.
I wonder if
sneakers.
anyone saw you at the store and were like, man, these rich people are so stylish.
What did David Beckham say?
I did think to myself, I see a day where kids do this on purpose as
They
a
sell
fashion,
shoes.
as
They
a
sell
fashion
them like that.
statement.
Yeah, they sell shoes that are different colors.
NBA players do it.
Yeah, we're here.
They will wear different colorways of the same brand of shoe just to match the couple of different colors on their uniform.
I thought about doing that because I bought 2 pairs of the exact same shoe style.
I do that all the time.
And I thought about, like, what if I wear one of these blue ones and one of these orange ones? But I knew that if I did it here, people would just make fun of me and bully me, so I didn't do it.
Yeah, we can't make choices that are out there here.
Hey, Tony.
I tucked in my shirt the other day, and everybody made fun of me.
Well, I
That's
mean-
all I did.
Yeah,
Just
you look
tuck
like
in
a
a shirt.
dork,
It was an odd look.
Man, see?
One of the things that came up yesterday that I look forward to talking to Ron McGill about is that I believe that Billy and the rest of you have not been listening to Ron McGill. And so when he speaks of the Everglades, I believe that you guys do not have the same respect for the different kind of wildlife that there is in the Everglades, different than the rest of the United States, and how unusual it is, if you're not used to something like the Everglades, to find the kind of animals that there are in the Everglades. But I was legitimately surprised, though I should not have been, when earlier today, Chris Cody said out loud, "What is alligator Alcatraz?" And before I answer the question, because it was quite the public display of politics that went on in South Florida yesterday by going to the Everglades and celebrating the idea that there is a prison surrounded by alligators. What did you imagine that it was when you heard the phrase for the first time without knowing alligator Alcatraz?
Well, I had heard weeks ago that Trump had been talking about bringing Alcatraz back, so I'm thinking maybe he pitched an idea of, we're going to put a moat around it, and no one's going to be able to get there. There's going to be alligators protecting Alcatraz. I know it's an island, but we'll put a little land, so there's a moat. We need a moat, and we're going to have dangerous alligators, the biggest alligators you've ever seen. They'll bite your hand off. I've seen them do it 3 times.
The best.
That's what I thought. I thought it would be alligators patrolling Alcatraz.
Am
I wrong?
That's not an AI image that we created. That's an AI image that the f***ing White House tweeted out themselves.
Oh, so I'm right. So
AI
I nailed it?
images are the aesthetic of fascism.
So
at
what is
point.
this? Tell me. Teach me.
Well, did you see any of the coverage
Yeah, I saw it.
Yesterday? Okay, so you have since
I know,
you have since learned what it is, but when you asked the question, you did not know what alligator Alcatraz was. For the record, what do you know about Alcatraz itself?
I've been to Alcatraz. I've
Have
done
you?
the tour. I've done put the headphones on. It's pretty cool, actually. One of the cooler tours I think I've done in my life. Go ahead, Billy. I see the face.
No,
I see
I'm
it.
just here. I'm just here. I'll listen to you. I believe you were there.
You don't believe I was there?
No, I do. I just said I believe you were there. You did. You put the headphones.
But you did make a face, and he noticed the face, and he's not
guys,
wrong.
I just don't obsess over me. I just have faces sometimes. It's okay. I can sit here.
Does he
drink
get
my
thrown out
water.
for lying or no? Just because
No, he
Billy
told-
said so?
An
Oh, okay.
accusation
I
hasn't been
didn't
made.
kick you
making
out.
sure,
Hold
okay.
on a second. I did not kick
No,
you
no,
out.
I know.
or ask
That's
you
to
get kicked
Dan.
out. Don't blame
That has
me
nothing to
for
do with
this.
you. I'm asking Dan.
I'm just.
What is the lie that I'm kicking him out for? That he has faces?
He hasn't been to Alcatraz. I don't know.
Okay, so if you don't know the accusation you're making, why are you? You know what? You can get out again for just
That's
doing
crazy.
Rough week for Tony. Can I go with
Minor
him just for
penalty, 2
moral
minutes
support?
For boring.
Boring.
I feel bad for him. I'm gonna go with him just to make sure. It used to be mental health awareness month, and this month we're getting out hot. I know we're getting hot.
Minor
just
penalty, 2 minutes
abusing
for
people's
adding
mental
nothing.
health here. Hold on.
May was mental health.
I think it's always a good month to be mindful of your mental
Weren't
health.
you
and
leaving?
I'm just gonna
Weren't you
say
leaving?
that.
You were leaving, right? You volunteered to leave, and then you decided to stay like a bad lingering smell in a bathroom? Because you said you were leaving, and I gave you the option to leave, and then you decided to stay because you didn't like that we just did what you wanted to do, and so you changed it.
He also left the door wide open, so now we're going to hear the murmuring from the other room.
I think alligator Alcatraz totally sounds like there's a moat around the prison.
Thank you!
Like you had those escapees in
There
New
is.
Orleans. Like they wouldn't have escaped if there was a moat with alligators outside
on.
the prison. I'm with Chris. That's what I thought of when I first heard about
This is just like yesterday when we went from the Damian Lillard conversation straight to the Atlanta Hawks. It's like, it's wild that we're skipping past what this thing is to be like, but what if we put a moat around a prison?
Tell the people what it is, for the people that don't.
It's our first sponsored work camp.
They don't have to worry about anything, though. Look at them. Chris and Zaslow will never have to worry about being put in an alligator Alcatraz because these are not the kinds of people that those alligators eat. Congratulations to Zaslow and Chris for being,
Zaslow might be eventually. That's normally what happens.
for being pink.
I'm good, though.
Yeah, Chris, you're good. You're the only one.
It is true what he's saying, though. The flippant sort of alligator Alcatraz should be mortifying. The idea of flying in politicians to go to that place on the outskirts of civilization to make sure that everyone knows that others will be surrounded by alligators there. I believe that what is happening right now in the other room with Lewis and Billy and Tony and Chris over here has smiles on it that shouldn't be around the phrase alligator Alcatraz. I believe that, look at him. Now they're afraid to smile. Now Billy's afraid to smile, even though
Tony's not afraid.
He's surrounded by alligators with ice hats that were sent out by the White House. Yeah, I don't know what to do with it other than make fun of it, because the other thing to do with it is just sort of, cry horrified at, we had a hell of a run, America, at being America.
It was pretty fun. But now, yesterday at the fun demonstration with merch and tours of the barracks of which these people will be stored in.
There was merch?
Oh, yeah. They have hats that say Alcatraz on them with little animated gators on top that they gave out to people. And on top of that, then Trump just decided to say, hey, by the way, we got a lot of bad people, many of them born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. So, he said, maybe we'll try that next. So the thing we've been saying about, throwing people in work camps and such.
Yeah,
it's happening.
It's early in the administration, so you have more fun like that to look forward to. Can you tie up some of the show loose ends here before we get to Behind the Bit and before it is that Billy and Tony and everyone thunder back in here to ruin the rest of today?
So we were looking at the conversation about Arch Manning. Has there ever been a player that hasn't played quite yet to be projected to go number one overall? No, but the closest thing I could find, Eric Swan was a player who never actually played college football because he was academically ineligible the entire time. He was still drafted 6th overall. We asked about direct deposits and when those were invented. That happened in the 70s, so it's surprising that Ricky Henderson couldn't have done that himself or anyone else. We were talking about blackout policies when it comes to the NFL. 75 miles away from the city of origin of the team is where you can get to where the blackout no longer applies.
So Orlando unnecessary.
Okay, but where was I going to stop 75 miles out? Am I just knocking on somebody's door? Hey, I'm here to watch the Dolphins.
A bar.
Zaslow was right. Tim Legler is one of 5 players on 3 3-point attempts or more to shoot over 50% from 3. He and Jason Capono are the only players to play more than 10 games in a season and do so.
Wow.
Just Tim Legler and Jason Capono playing 77 and 67 games respectively. The Heat have the second longest NBA sellout streak actively, the 4th all time. The number 1 active is the Dallas Mavericks, 957 sellouts starting December 15th, 2001. And a nomination for a cumbersome nickname, Oscar Pistorius, the fastest man on no legs.
That's how it's done, Jeremy. That's how you use Jeremy. Good job out of you.
It was a good
we need to
update.
keep talking.
Yes,
imaging.
It was a good update. Yes, because I like that there were so many loops closed there. I guess I have to say that Capono is a better shooter than Duncan Robinson, right? Don't I have to say that? Mathematically, there's no argument that Jason Capono is a better shooter than Duncan Robinson, no?
Volume normally affects percentage.
Yeah,
and so if you're only doing a couple per game and you're probably pretty open considering the team that you were playing on, a little different. They ran offense through Duncan for a good portion of this career, but 50% from 3 is insane.
I'd rather a guy who goes 4 for 10 than a guy who goes 1 for 2.
He
Right?
averaged less than 2 shots one of those seasons.
Right.
When are the Heat running their offense through Duncan?
Oh man, the dribble handoffs with Bam, especially in 2020, that was a gigantic chunk of their offense. It was bring in Duncan Robinson, run him around, and just try to get him open for several minutes at a time, including playoff games.
He runs around a lot.
It was just getting him open and getting him shots, 5 or 6 shots on 5 or 6 possessions in a row.
I feel like, I don't know, I hope it starts to get a little bit of notice now that he's no longer on the team, but man, he's really one of the all-time great Heat players. He was here for 7.
Whoa.
Yes, well, just think about the context. 7 years. That's a long time in the end. Like, he was here a lot longer than LeBron was, right? 7 years he was with the Heat. He's the all-time leader in 3-pointers. He's unquestionably the second greatest undrafted player in the history of the franchise, only behind Udonis Haslem. Played in huge games, 2 NBA Finals.
Big miss there against the Celtics.
I mean, he really is one of the all-time great Miami Heat players.
Are you hurt by this? Do you develop an emotional attachment to Duncan Robinson with the Miami Heat?
I usually am hurt by stuff like this when we lose players. I do get way too emotional. I don't want to trade anybody to get another guy. I want to keep everybody. I'd be a terrible general manager. I don't feel that emotion right now. And I think it's just because, man, we've been down the last couple years. Something's got to change. We got to get something new here. So I'm not emotional about losing him.
Speaking of something new, would you do me the favor, please, of looking up the year that Eric Swan was drafted? Because
1991.
I want to put in front of you guys in 2025 the idea of, hey, there's a giant guy, and he's going to be drafted in the top 6. And get this, straight out of high school. No college play. He's going to be a top 6 NFL draft pick, but his past is he's just a menacing guy that's so strong that he's projected very high, even though he didn't play in college. And he's not a college-age freshman, but didn't play in college, so is coming out of high school, essentially, even though he's in his early 20s.
He also played semi-professional football for the Bay State Titans. So whatever that is, that guy gets drafted 6th overall.
How strong does that human being have to be? Now, again, it's 30 years ago, so it's a different time in the NFL draft. But if that happened today, where you had a guy that I was telling you, you're not going to believe this. Listen to this. He's so strong, he's going to be in the top 6, but didn't play in college.
No GM would have the guts to draft that guy.
He
today.
made $5 per hour as his salary for the Bay State Titans.
Bay.
What was his professional career? Because he didn't amount to much. He was a defensive tackle, but I do believe that he did play in the league for a while, and he wasn't useless. And I don't think of him as being associated with the word bust, even though he probably was a bust if he's going top 6. And wouldn't be having much of a career.
He was an All-Pro. 1995 and 1996, he was an All-Pro and selected to the Pro Bowl team. He signed a 5-year, $25 million contract with a $7.5 million signing bonus in 98. But he ended up getting hurt, knee injuries. But he played from 1991 to 2000, which is a really long career.
So not a bust, but none of you had heard of Eric Swan or Eric Swan's story as an NFL top 6 draft pick who didn't end up going to college. There aren't going to be too many examples of that, I would imagine.
You remember the guy from Baylor a couple years ago that was like way bigger than everybody else, where he would stand on the coin flip and he was just like massive and had like these huge abs? That's the guy you could have told me. He straight out of high school would be like, sign him. I don't know what he is, sign him.
That photo is so memorable that I remember exactly what you're talking about. We're going to find it in a second. And it was a coin toss of a guy that, based on looking at him, you would have simply said, of course, that person is great at football. But I don't think that person was even a pro, was he? Good God. I do not remember his name, but I don't believe that he ever played professionally, even though no one has ever looked as good in a Baylor uniform as this guy coming out for the coin flip.
Pretty sure, just think about Baylor for a second. That is maybe part of why he didn't play.
RG3 went to Baylor. He won a Heisman.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Neither of you helpful at all.
Okay,
with what
sexual
it is that
assault.
I was doing. Neither of you at all helpful.
His name's Sean Oakman. He played for the Alouettes.
Okay, so he played in the CFL.
The Elks, the Argonauts, the Aces, the Wildcats, the Rough Riders, the Bucks, and the Torch.
So didn't play an NFL down, did not play. That human being who, I mean, the reaction from everybody was to see that photograph and gasp at what is one supposed to do about blocking that? Well, the answer is everyone in the pros could block that because that.
And the CFL.
Everyone in this country who played professional football could block that, evidently, though it had to go to Canada in order to play professionally.
It also feels like Derrick Henry was one of those guys too. When he came out of high school, where he had like 1,000, rushing touchdowns in high school, it felt like he could have been a guy that could play in the NFL right away too.
Imagine going to 6th period and then you have to go play football against Derrick Henry.
Tackle this guy. You're like, Whoa. Whose dad is that?
What the hell?
I have friends who were at Columbus who one time went to play Immokalee and Edgerrin James was in the backfield, and they're just my small Cuban friends. And they're like, what are we supposed to? I don't know. At that point, Edgerrin James was that muscular simply because he was physically unloading trucks that had produce in them as a high school kid. Didn't even lift weights, was just someone who was unbelievably strong because he was working on trucks since he was 12 years old.
I just love learning about Dan's different groups of friends. We have his math friends and his small Cuban friends.
Studying for your math test. Now go tackle Edgerrin James.
Well, the Edgerrin James story that is best there, the Columbus high school friend story that is best, Edgerrin James is second. The first story there is that same friend at his birthday party. We put on all the televisions, Udonis Haslem in high school dunking and the ball going through the rim and hitting him in the forehead as he was late on the fast break.
He's trying to run back because the coach is watching him, and then the dunk goes
through and we just put it on a loop on all the televisions. The ball going through the hoop as it's being dunked at Miami High, and it bouncing off my friend Paul's forehead and going into the stands because they were. And by the way, Udonis Haslem at that point was playing for Miami High, but lived in Miramar, was nowhere near where the state champions were.
Don't worry about that.
The district lines did not apply to however it is that Frank Martin got Udonis Haslem to go
Got a lot of guys to go to Miami High, by the way.
Well, they did have those banners removed. They got them taken away.
Steve Blakely by Killian was going to Miami High.
Yep.
I want you to imagine my friend's face when he walked into his birthday party.
Small Cuban friend.
All the televisions is the basketball going through the basket and hitting him in the forehead and bouncing into the stands.
Happy birthday.
That's got to be worse than getting dunked on, right? Is the byproduct of getting dunked on and then hitting the ball against your forehead so hard that it goes into the stands.
Look, if I could have made it a poster, I would have. If I could have had him posterized at the time, if I had the technology, right, to just put a poster in his room of the ball going through
the trajectory of the
basket.
ball.
Look, he dunked with such ferocity. All right, we were down by 40. It was all of us for the Miami Herald High School Sports Show. We're playing against Udonis Haslem, and that wasn't even the best dunk.
Jeremy, you know something about me, right? You know when I'm grilling outside and it's summertime, you know how I supplement my summertime?
Of course I do.
I make it Miller time.
Of course.
That beautiful white can. Oh, when it's so hot outside, I just put it right to my forehead, right there. And I just roll it sometimes, right on the forehead, cool my body down, and then I crack it open, instant relief, and then that first sip, brother, does that first sip?
That is a top 5 sequence of events that you can possibly go through.
I'm just serenity now when I just imagine that first sip of Miller Lite.
Just thinking about it's making me happy.
Dude, the sun is out. It's nice. You have your friends showing up. You got your family there. You just had your first sip of Miller Lite. And you know what? You're happy. You're blissful. You're fulfilled. I've been stocking my cooler with Miller Lite for years, and for good reason. It's brewed for taste. Only 96 calories and 3.2 grams of carbs. This year, Miller Lite turns 50. That is 5 decades of cookouts, laughs, and ice-cold moments that never miss. It's the original light beer, and it's still my go-to. Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
What's up, guys? Tony here, and I wanted to talk about something super important, and that's how I keep my home protected. Obviously, you guys know I have a little one back at home. My wife is there with her, and I get tremendous peace of mind knowing that the moment I leave for work, that my home, my property, my family is protected, not just reactively, but proactively by Simply Safe. They are the #1 for home security on the planet, on the market. There's nobody better than Simply Safe. I got the cameras going on. I got indoor cameras. I got outdoor cameras. I'm looking all over the place. Most security systems only take action after somebody breaks in, but you and I know that's too late, especially when you have a little one at home and when you have your wife at home and the big dog's not there, right? Simply Safe's new Active Guard outdoor protection helps stop break-ins before they happen. AI-powered cameras, live monitoring agents detect suspicious activity around the property. If somebody's lurking, agents talk to them in real time, turn on spotlights, and can call the police, proactively deterring crime before it starts. Everything's on the app. I want to see the cameras. Boom. I see who's walking their dog a little too close to my yard, maybe leaving some dog residue close to my yard. I can go on the microphone and say, buddy, clean up after your dog. Over 4 million Americans trust SimpliSafe, and so do I. SimpliSafe is offering Le Batard Show listeners 50% off a new system with professional monitoring. Plus, your first month is free. Visit simplysafe.com/DLB to claim this offer. That's simplysafe.com/DLB. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Folks, nothing says summer like long days, clutch plays, and firing off a few bets on the game. All with DraftKings Sportsbook. Never bet baseball before? Hey, it's easy. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride with your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. Here's something special for first-timers, new DraftKings customers. Bet $5 and get 150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Dan Le Batard.
What is the worst part of the life?
Stugotz.
The worst part of the life of what?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
This is behind the bit. This is behind the bit. This is behind
the bit. We take you back to a better time in the show's history, a time, at least for me, where I was happiest because we were at ESPN.
It is now time to chat with my favorite, more talented son, Lebo. Aside from being a world-famous artist, check it out at leboart.com. He has also never willingly attended a sporting event. Let's test Lebo's sports knowledge.
Again, leboart.com is where you go, and we have some questions here for Lebo. He knows very little.
The game just makes me happy. It does.
It does. It has made you happy. It has made you happy for years. And keep in mind, my brother doesn't have time for this nonsense that we have to do around here. So we are grateful for his time today. Dave, who is Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow. With the preface of that I know very little, I guess that doesn't have much expectation to it. Joe Burrow is a professional football coach.
Good guess.
Yeah. Actually, an amateur football player.
But close, in the realm. It seems
Longing
it's like
to be a professional.
It's a bit of a moral victory for Lebo.
Good coach's name, though, Joe Burrow.
It is.
Yes.
It is a good name. What is the name of the NBA team in Milwaukee?
The Brewers.
I mean, close, right? I mean, close.
Two half points.
He had something. He had something there. Can you name an SEC football team?
An SEC? I can't. An SEC football team. The Cobras.
He looked at me like, "What is the SEC?"
A good guess.
The Auburn Cobras.
The Cobras is a good guess.
War Cobras.
Whoa. What sport does Ed Orgeron coach?
Hockey.
Very aggressive and confident.
It's a French name.
It's a French name. It's a good guess. It's a good reason for the guess.
Yeah, he's with the Nordiques.
What team does LeBron James play for?
Cleveland.
You're stacking up the partial points. Partial points.
For the man that knows nothing.
Give any last name of an athlete who has the first name of Cam.
I know this one, actually. You guys, Newton.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Dan, can you tell us how this bit came to be?
My brother was always looking for ways for me to take more chances and was trying to teach me that it was okay to show your ass and be vulnerable. And so he was always somebody who was wondering why it is that I wasn't pushing the boundaries more. And so he was trying to encourage me to do that in a way that was funny and exposed him into looking like a fool and just to embrace the idea of being a fool.
I'm still shocked he knew the Brewers. Like,
anytime
he got the answer wrong, but at least he knew the baseball team in Milwaukee.
The guesses were exceptional.
Yes.
The one that I remember the most when I think of these with my brother is how excited he was because he thought he knew one, right? He's like, the question was, who was the shortstop for the New York Yankees? And he was all excited, like, I know this one. Eric Jeter.
It was interesting hearing Lebo's voice there. Lebo's Dan's, at the time, way more famous brother, way more successful brother, a great painter and a really great friend of mine.
I love this segment so much because I remember thinking to myself a couple things. One, Lebo got so excited when he got one right. He was so happy when he would guess and get one right. But I remember thinking to myself, Lebo is doing something so cool, unique, and different with his life. And we're sitting at a table talking about Eric Jeter.
That's right. That is correct. That's right. Boldly creative while we sit in a cramped studio filled with colorful regret. Colorful only because he put it there.
The coolest stuff in that studio.
All of it. It is right. He's the coolest thing in that studio, and he made all of the coolest things in that studio.
It was kind of conceived by Dan. Hey, my brother knows nothing about sports. Can we use that? How can we make this a character on this show? Because Dan's family life has always been canon on our show. So I enjoyed the challenge of crafting an entertaining segment around a man who's never willingly attended a sporting event.
Do you have a favorite Lebo moment on the show?
Quite honestly, I think it's the fun that we had around that. There were plenty of activations that we had where he would be painting Roy or be painting someone else in the show. But it always, anytime we had him in studio, even if he was there to do something else, we always took the opportunity to kind of quiz his sports knowledge. Professionally, those are some of my fondest memories of Lebo.
They absolutely had fun doing this bit. When we were local, he used to do it on the phone, so he called in and it was great. But the other thing was, like, he also used to do this bit called the Mind Bender, where he would come up with riddle or situations. What would you do in this particular situation? That was fun. He came in and he did artwork. He did artwork of me wearing nothing.
My brother has arrived to do an artist's rendering of Roy very expensively. Sarah Spain, this really backfired on Sarah Spain.
Roy is ripped, man.
That painting still?
No, it was auctioned.
Oh, it was
auctioned? It was auctioned. It's hanging in somebody's bedroom right now.
How do you feel about that?
What am I going to do? I mean, it made money, so hooray.
He became a character when we were audio only, and I believe we were doing Man Who's Never Willingly Attended a Sporting Event and Mind Benders. That was another thing where Lebo would create these mind bender type questions.
And now it's time for Lebo's Mind Bender. The Mind Bender.
Really? Like, that's what we do on the imaging?
Well, we made the Mind Bender opening when we cared about the show.
Yeah, when people tried. When people tried on the production elements of this show. Overdone though they may be. What do you have for us, Lebo?
Well, I'm going to start off with what could be the most minimal mind bender to date. And that is, would you rather be a cat or a dog?
Wow.
Really? Wow. Really?
Yeah,
was this
big one.
approved? Was this?
Well, my wow was at the lack of thought Lebo gave to the Mindbender today.
Well, I mean,
Big one.
jeez.
Was this approved? As if there's a committee.
But there's got to be a screening process. There has to be.
Because, Dave, I mean, last time I think you threw up a couple of duds and we said, hey, you got to come stronger next time. And you promised us you would. And it's
really?
Mike and I worked on these.
Would you rather be a cat or a dog? I don't know. Cats are self-sufficient. Dogs are really taken care of. What? I'd rather be a dog. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, let's go. Let's move on to the next one. Let's just move on to the next one.
I'd go dog, Lebo.
Okay. Jeez.
Well, how about Lebo? Hold on. What would you rather be, a cat or a dog?
Stop.
I don't want to be anything now. I want to be off the phone.
Dan, do you think your brother knew more about sports than you know about art?
He and I would have no chance on an art show where they're asking
Speak for
us,
yourself, I mean.
yes, who was the abstract artist? I imagine
Picasso?
asking him a bunch of questions about Jackson Pollock. Go ahead, imagine it. Yes,
Good tight end.
that is a good name for a tight end, Jackson Pollock. I would take him in my fantasy league just by name.
First round.
Do you remember when Lebo's art got involved with the show?
Art became a character on the show once we became visual. Once we started showing up on Fusion and had the visual component to play with, it was easy to say who was going to be shaping the artistic direction of our show and templating that for future use.
What was your relationship with Lebo like?
We were really tight. Like, you asked me what my favorite moments were Lebo were, and they weren't ever really in show. It was more hanging out with Lebo. Lebo was a really good ally for me early on as I struggled with the enormity of the executive producer role. Lebo, in many ways, trusted me more than Dan did and saw that.
Jeremy, you know something about me, right? You know when I'm grilling outside and it's summertime, you know how I supplement my summertime?
Of course I do.
I make it Miller time.
Of course.
That beautiful white can. Oh, when it's so hot outside, I just put it right to my forehead, right there. And I just roll it sometimes, right on the forehead, cool my body down, and then I crack it open, instant relief, and then that first sip, brother, does that first sip?
That is a top 5 sequence of events that you can possibly go through.
I'm just serenity now when I just imagine that first sip of Miller Lite.
Just thinking about it's making me happy.
Dude, the sun is out. It's nice. You have your friends showing up. You got your family there. You just had your first sip of Miller Lite. And you know what? You're happy. You're blissful. You're fulfilled. I've been stocking my cooler with Miller Lite for 4 years, and for good reason. It's brewed for taste. Only 96 calories and 3.2 grams of carbs. This year, Miller Lite turns 50. That is 5 decades of cookouts, laughs, and ice-cold moments that never miss. It's the original light beer, and it's still my go-to. Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.